Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome back to That Time. And we're talking about that time when Americans crossed a river. Except it wasn't any river. See, this was in the 1770s, and specifically the Revolutionary War. And leading up to this was 1776 to 1777, that winter. So it was pretty rough, to say the least. And it was especially rough because throughout the summer of that year, George Washington had to retreat and retreat and retreat from New York all the way into Pennsylvania through New Jersey. And to say this was a bad thing for the Continentals would be an understatement, and especially because of the winter. The British, they were in various different places in New Jersey, wintering in well-established camps or in cities. That way they wouldn't be too cold. However, the Americans were trapped, or not trapped, but they decided to winter at Valley Forge, which is not a place you want to be wintering in the pre-HVAC era. And to just put into perspective how bad it was, a lot of the American soldiers didn't have shoes. A lot of them were wearing ragged clothes. George Washington had to stave off mutinies and starvation for his troops. And in many cases, they weren't being paid, or if they were, it was coming right out of Washington's own pockets. Yeah, it was bad. However, during this time, they were given at least one godsend, and that was Baron von Steuben, who was a Prussian person. And it's very debatable whether he was actually a general, as some people will say, or even a colonel, or as they would say back in the day, a colonel. That's why it's still spelled that way. And he at least trained the American military how to march in formation, how to shoot on time in formation. Yeah, it was a thing. Anyway, and even how to set up camps, including where to put your latrines and where to draw your water, aka not the same place. So Washington decided that it was winter and that he needed to have something to keep his troops' morale together. So he decides he's going to attack Trenton. And to do that, he needed 3 different crossings of the Delaware River from Pennsylvania into New Jersey. This didn't really happen, and there was only one crossing that was successful. And that was actually completed by Washington's troops himself. And in Trenton, New Jersey, there was a force of Hessian mercenaries from 2 provinces, German, both named Hesse. It was, to put it lightly, they were maybe a little late in understanding what was going on. Plus, this happened in the middle of the night. As you can see, it happened on the 26th of December. At least that's when the battle happened, but the crossing took place on Christmas Day, or more accurately, the night of Christmas. And contrary to popular belief, the Hessians were not drunk from Christmas and celebrating Christmas. In fact, they probably were stone cold sober and hadn't had anything to drink other than enough to hydrate them. Because back in the day, you didn't want to drink the water. It was actually safer to drink beer or whiskey or wine for 2 reasons. Number one, beer and whiskey were the only drinks that were heated for a considerable amount of time, enough to kill off any diseases. All 3 had alcohol, which sterilizes them, and the water often carried diseases, especially in the colonies, or soon-to-be states. Anyway, so he crossed the Delaware and he attacked New Jersey, and, well, it was a slaughter. There was only 1 American casualty, and when I say casualty, that means injury, capture, or death. And when I say injury, I mean serious injury. And that was James Monroe, who we'll get to in just a second. Obviously, the American commander was George Washington, who would become our first president and all that. You know, everybody knows about George Washington. However, James Monroe was actually in this, and he was a volunteer. And he believed in the cause and yada yada yada. You get it, right? He was the only American to suffer any form of injury in this battle. And he didn't care. He just thought he was doing his duty for the freedom of Americans. And, well, yeah. Pretty amazing that he not only survived a semi-serious injury, but that he was the only American to suffer a combat injury in this battle. And this has actually led to a famous meme. Americans, willing to cross a frozen river to kill you in your sleep on Christmas. Totally not kidding. We've done it. And yes, that is true. And of course, this is a very famous painting. I honestly forget who painted it, but it's Washington's crossing of the Delaware. And that was my dog snoring. Yeah, and James Monroe is the person here who is holding the American flag, though that flag is inaccurate for the crossing of the Delaware. And Washington probably wasn't standing triumphantly like that. They were probably all hunkered down trying to stay as low as possible for the sole purpose of not tipping boats over into the Delaware, which probably was about that ice covered and was frigid and would kill you if you fell in. So yeah, it is it really is worthy of something like this. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a nice day. I'll see you next time. Bye.